and I hope you have something to eat. Since we're speaking about food, I'm at least dying for food at the moment, but probably holding my horses heel still. We're going to have a very exciting panel focusing to food tech, which we all know that is super exciting industry, a growing one as well. And we're going to hear more from investors and their perspectives to this, this growing and exciting industry. So with me today, I have Henrik Poulsen from SeaGood. We have Maximilian Bade from Nucleus Capital. And then we have Rebecka Löthman Rydå from Industrifonden. So welcome on stage and share about your topics to this exciting topics. And I guess that we have so many startups there looking forward to find out more about you and your investment philosophies and so forth. So why don't we start with like short round of introductions, that who you are, what is your investment focus? Those key words for the audience here. So Rebecka, let's start with you.
So my name is Rebecka and I work today as an investment director at Industrifonden. And Industrifonden can invest in anything from sort of deep tech within food tech, such as synthetic biology and the likes, to the likes of Oatly, that is one of our portfolio companies. We typically invest at seed stage or Series A, and can be a very long-term committed partner and take at least our pro rata and more all along the way till then still owners in Oatly after 18 years. So we have that evergreen structure that makes us that kind of long-term patient owner. That's a short intro to us. Yeah.
Thank you. And Maximilian.
Thanks. Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for the invitation. My name is Max. I'm the founding partner of Nucleus Capital, which is a brand new venture firm started out of Germany in Berlin, which I've been building over the last 9 months. And our focus is potentially at the intersection of synthetic biology, food, and climate. So we definitely look for companies that have a positive impact on planetary as well as societal health. And we tend to invest super early stage, so pre-seed angel investment round, typically with tickets of up to 150K. And then, we help our founders to kind of build together and find follow-on financing, and that's where we're very strong. And we've so far done around 14 investments.
Exciting. And Henrik, welcome.
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you all. Yes, my name is Henrik Poulsen. I'm an angel investor, and I'm a part owner of Tonic venue. It is one of the biggest Nordic food tech venues every year, and mostly I'm working with the taste and this kind of ready to launch and sell products at the moment. So I have more than 10 different food tech investments at the moment, and I really know what is to be a startup entrepreneur, and especially what are the challenges when you are going to be a bigger and bigger and trying to raise some money. So I'm more a kind of angel investor and advisor in most cases where I'm working.
Good to have you here. Let's continue with you. Can you name some of the companies that you have invested in? Do we know any of them?
Oh, you just saw one of those, Arctic Farming. That's cool. One of those. But example, a company called Probitat. It's fermentation technology. And I'm always kind of joking that it's going to be the next Oatly. So it's a university background of the company, and now we are just trying to scale it up and building a good story in international level.
And Rebecka, you mentioned that Industrifonden is one of the backers of Oatly, which is pretty cool. Do you have other food tech companies in your portfolio?
Yeah, we have a few. We have Mikroak, that is a really smart packaging solution, increasing shelf life significantly. We have Smartfish, that's an omega-3 drink and also medical nutrition solution. And we also have an ag tech company called Bowmill. But I wish we had more. We really want to take an ag tech.
So perhaps after Arctic 15 you will have more. And Maximilian, do you have something on Nucleus already? You mentioned 14 investments. Any food tech?
Yeah. So I think we would have to differentiate that a little bit. So a couple of them are my angel investments from before starting Nucleus. So on the AgTech side, we've done Air Farm, and we've also invested in a company called Here Foods here in Germany. And then on the synthetic or on the deep tech side, we were a very early investor in Hoxton Farms, who grow cultivated fat in a bioreactor to sell it as an ingredient for plant-based as well as cell-cultured meat companies. And we've also invested recently in the first startup to ever come out of YC, which with a cultivated meat product, which is called Obillion Bio in the United States.
Actually, you mentioned here a keyword regarding, differentiate. And I think it's important as well that if we're speaking about food tech, it could be, anything. It could be a food waste technology, or it could be helping restaurants, or an agriculture tech. So how do you find food tech here, and what are you looking for? What kind of companies? Who would like to start?
I could go first. It's kind of cliche, but it's all about the team always. Because when you are working with the startups, it could be that they have a brilliant idea, or they could have a brilliant team, and it's totally different case. So especially when you are in early stage investments, when you are doing those. But there are many kind of different ways to think that is it going to be a food tech, or is it just a tech business? So that's why I'm always thinking about the scaling it up and the taste. So most technical things I'm not jumping in, because I cannot give so much into it. But when it's already a kind of eatable, it doesn't have to be a ready. That is something when I want to jump in and show what I can do and help.
So something eatable and scalable.
Yeah, mostly cases.
Good. Rebecka?
And that was a good definition. For me, it can be using technology or deep technology to improve things like efficiency, health, sustainability, in everything, basically, from producing, how the consumer chooses its product, delivery, and enjoying. It can be a lot of things for us, and definitely focus a lot on sort of scalability and uniqueness when we look at food tech businesses. And then the impact they make. They need to sort of move the needle and make the world a little bit better.
Yeah.
And that's important.
And Max, do you have similar? Or you mentioned deep tech there earlier as well, but
yeah, I think, we probably all invest in somewhat similar companies, but for me, fundamentally, two things are very important. One of them is that technology can be leveraged to change the economics of that particular business in a very drastic way. And the other is that it can change or even reinvent the whole supply chain, right? So if you think about producing meat essentially through the traditional agriculture way versus producing it in a bioreactor, that completely flips the supply chain upside down and also has a tremendous impact on our climate. And so that's something that I would define as food tech.
And I think it's also, exciting, since you all are getting like thousands of pitch decks all the time, and companies aiming to get you as their investors. And Maximilian, you just have started, and you will receive couples of more. But what is, are there any specific metrics for food tech companies and for those kind of companies? Do they differ from other industries somehow?
Should I take this?
Yeah, you can start.
Sure, I start. So I think, obviously investing on the pitch deck stage, metrics is not necessarily something that I can really expect from founders to already be able to show. But nevertheless, I think there's certainly a distinction to some other companies. And Henrik mentioned this earlier. I think when you have technologies or companies, for example, in the plant-based space that do meat alternatives, there is usually an MVP and there's usually a proof of concept that can already be tasted. And I think, again, taste, if it's a product meant to be for the end consumer, then obviously this is, very, very important. And taste is king in consumer food.
Yeah. Do you get to taste all the products all the time?
Actually, yes. So just a couple of weeks ago, I was tasting one of the first realistic plant-based steaks made out of Slovenia. And then afterwards for dinner, I had a dessert, which is the first molecular chocolate, where we are trying to replace the cocoa bean through fermentation and upcycling, which is very interesting. It tasted very sweet, but it did taste somewhat like chocolate already. So I would say it's a go.
That's promising. Rebecka, are there any specific metrics that you are following at Industrifonden?
Yeah, definitely depends. I mean, if we're looking at the deep tech side of food tech and synthetic biology, I mean, we of course look at the sort of uniqueness and how patented the technology is and the relevance into the ecosystem. And then on the other side of things, if it's about delivering a new kind of food product or alternative protein, it's a lot more like we already said about taste and the experience and the texture and also the early traction that you see in early adopters liking the product and adopting the product.
Henrik, what is your
of course, the same things, but I think I have a little bit different background than what Rebecka and Maximilian is so because I used to be a top chef here in Finland and own almost 15 restaurants, so I know quite much about the taste. So my angle is a little bit different. So already in the quite early stage, I can help with the product. So that's why I'm doing the angel investments more so but yes, of course, in food industry everybody knows if somebody shows you a pitch deck where it's mentioned that it is or it could be patented, it's totally different. Then I'm looking more and more into it because it's not so easy, especially in the food. But I'm thinking that it's about the team quite much. So because it could came out something else than what they are showing at the first time.
Yeah, and I think here it's also important to speak about the commercialization part of the product, and we all know the story of Poulsen, for instance, that they started as a research in the 80s. University of Lund, and now they just did an IPO, so it actually takes ages. And Henrik, you also mentioned that you have invested to university background companies. So what would be your best advice to these kind of if you start to commercialize food tech innovations in general, how would you guide them forward? Henrik, we can start with you.
So I think first they have to understand or choose the path where they are going. Are they trying to build the product quite ready, or are they just building the idea and putting all their energy on the pitch deck? Because mostly the startups are doing this a kind of problematic case also always, that they are driving with the two cars. So especially when there is only one or two or three person working, I think you have to choose it, but many startups are not understanding that it could be possible to move on without the product. Like Maximilian said, that there could be even 1 million or 2 million investments just with the deck. There is no any product ready, but there are huge potential in the future. Or if you are just somebody who wants to do the best muffin in the world, so and you show the deck, of course you have to prove the case and show why the muffin is so unique. So you have to choose where you are going first. I think that's my opinion.
What about you, Max? How would you advise this team?
Yeah, so I think there's a clear difference in terms of what kind of company you are building, right? If you're building, for example, a CPG direct-to-consumer company or something on a more plant-based basis where there's not as much technology and IP involved, I think iterating fast and throwing the product out in the market and getting feedback is probably the best way to go. And if you are really a deep tech company, especially if you work in as a B2B ingredient, I think it is really key to understand the customer that you're looking for, to really understand their need, and then ideally find one or two or maybe a handful of customers where you can really develop the product jointly with them together, but avoid falling into the trap that you're building very unique solutions that aren't scalable in the end and you become somewhat of an agency. I think that's not very favorable, but joint customer development in deep tech cases, I think, can make a lot of sense.
Good one. Rebecka?
Yeah, a lot of good things have been said, but I think as well spend a lot of time with the problem you want to solve and the customers you want to help. That's one of the common mistakes I see with companies. And also find these really early adopters and use them in your product development, use them as ambassadors. I mean, that was one of the success factors of Oatly, right? When they found these baristas on the US market and scaled through them first rather than going directly at the food chains. So find those early adopters. That's important.
I think, in these days we have so many influencers who are, let's say that if you have plant-based products, who are very supporting those products as well. So I think, it might be naive to say that it's easier, but at least you have the power of the audience right there with you.
Yeah.
And maybe if I may add one last thought, I think what I have seen, especially in the last 6 months, is that even if you are a deep tech company, it is important that you have shown that the proof of concept works in lab scale, at least to the point when you're raising your seed round. But once you've done that, it's equally important to really start thinking about distribution from the very first days onwards, because many times I see founders who are so obsessed with their product that they completely forget about distribution. And actually, if you have the best product in the market, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will win, because there can be other people who've found a platform where they can distribute it more efficiently and then maybe beat you to the market. So I think that's really very important.
Nice. I'm also super curious, since you all are within this field and seeing a lot of startups, that what is cooking, to say, if we're speaking here about food. So what is cooking at the moment, and are there some industries that we are still missing if we think about food tech? Rebecka, do you want to start?
Sure. Okay, go to next person.
Yeah, let's start with Henrik.
I could take this one now. So I think there is good things coming at the moment around the world, especially with the vegetarian type of foods and these kind of alternative protein in things. And we have been seeing that it's already a hit, but I think it will be a mega trend in next 10 years. But I'm still missing that who will be the first one who is not having so many additives or ingredients there on the recipes. So because now if we are talking about the alternative proteins and Beyond Meat burgers or whatever, there's quite many E-codes and many things on the burger patties. So that will be the next big thing who will change the game. So kind of what Rebecka just said about the Oatly. They were the first one who invested a lot of money also in the marketing. So you have to be the first one or maybe the second one, but you have to be ready when it's time. You cannot be too small a long time. Otherwise, there's so many competitors at the moment. The industry are looking what other companies are doing, and they are ready to invest when they just see some open door. So I think there will be quite many nice things coming on.
Exciting. What do you see, Rebecka? Perhaps now this time,
yeah? It's better now. Yeah, so one thing that excites me at the moment is solutions to replace fish, because I think this is such an enormous problem, and I'm seeing several new companies taking on alternative fish protein, both cultivated and also solutions for more sustainable fish farming. So both the commercial fishing and the fish farming is awful, so we need to replace both of those over time. Another thing is precision nutrition that I think is really exciting, sort of personalizing what we eat to optimize our health. And I haven't seen that many companies, a few, but excited to see more.
So kind of like joined between health and food, kind of like.
Exactly.
And Max, what is cooking in Germany?
Well, I mean, I think Europe is such a small place, and this kind of community is, very like-minded as well. I think that everybody somewhat similarly sees the same companies. But I really think that, if we look at the underlying technologies, we've seen the big first wave with plant-based companies, and we've seen, Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods turning out as big successes. The next wave will then probably be more microorganism and fermentation-based companies, where I think we have tremendous potential to, again, kind of systemically change efficiencies around food production and also produce new kinds of foods. And the last one will be in the cell-based realm, right, where we use real animal cells to produce real meat, very much in a way that, for example, beer is currently produced in large fermenters and large bioreactors. And I think what we will see, building on top of these foundational technologies, is verticalization, right? So there's many problems within one certain technology, like, for example, in cell-based meats. There's still the very expensive growth factors, scaffolding to get the right marbling and to get the right physical appearance of a product done. And I think there will be a lot of companies who are tackling these very specific pain points within the cell-based or cell-cultured meat industry. So, for example, company only focusing on cell line development, company focusing on scaffold or growth media optimization. And I think these kind of verticalizations are now the next kind of infrastructure plays, because there can be a lot of value generated if you manage to build a B2B company that supplies all these big vertically integrated brands who also do end consumer products with the right technological innovation to bring down cost at scale. So I think that's something that I'm very interested in.
If I could say a few words also on that, what Rebecka and Maximilian just said, and also kind of wrapping up this whole thing is, again, we are talking about the taste. So when you are scaling it up, it's the challenge. And I think in the future, people are still like you can see that snacking is a trend. What is every year it's more and more rising. But people want to have the alternative. They want to have the possibility to choose. If they are still going to eat ice cream or sweets or whatever, but they want to choose, are they eating sugar or honey or whatever? So these kind of things. So also with the burgers, people will eat the burgers next 100 years for sure. But still they want to have the same feeling. It have to be a choosy one. That's why the vegetarian burger steaks are at the moment hip thing, because they are like meat. Yeah. So they are not too dry. So again, it's all about the taste.
I think that's a good wrap up as well. So it's all about the taste. And fortunately, we have to end this exciting discussion. I would like to continue here like 30 minutes still, but perhaps next Arctic, and perhaps we will meet physically and we can taste also something. But thank you so much for joining, Rebecka, Henrik, and Maximilian. Very exciting to hear your advices and about your trend spots as well. So good to have you here. I hope you can stay and follow the other discussions here at Arctic 15. We're going to have a lot of different exciting panels coming up. So thank you all for joining.
Henna.
Thank you so much.